The stars of the 2003 World Cup, Sourav Ganguly and Shaun Pollock locked horns in a face-off before the big game between India and South Africa. Listen in to the stars as they explain why their team is going to win the biggest match of Group B.
Huge game, India versus South Africa. Always a big game in the World Cup. South Africa, impeccable record against India. Two of the biggest legends to have played for these two countries, captained them. Shaun missed it by a whisker, Sourav missed it by a whisker. 99, 2003. Can the two teams go the distance this time round? Before this shoot, Shaun actually said, whoever loses this match will perhaps win the World Cup. I'll start with that. Before that, Shaun, Sourav, welcome to this very special broadcast. Shaun, whoever loses this will win the World Cup?
That's just taking the pressure off. So that if it doesn't go according to plan for each team, then they've got something to hold on to. But it's an important game. I think ideally, if you have a look at the other pool, the team that ends up number one in this pool will have a distinct advantage because it looks like the quarterfinal might be an easier encounter. So it's important that they play well tomorrow. And I think the World Cup for South Africa really does start tomorrow. Against Zimbabwe, it was quite low-key. It happened in Hamilton. Tomorrow they're going to know that they're in a World Cup encounter, and India are a good side, and they played nicely in their first game, so they'll be coming with lots of confidence.
South Africa World Cup starts tomorrow. India's World Cup already started with Pakistan.
Yeah, absolutely. India's World Cup already started with Pakistan, but I think the real test will be tomorrow. And it'll be a good game. It'll probably be the biggest game of this group because, I still believe that, I know that both of these teams will go into the quarterfinals, and whatever position you are in the quarterfinals, all the teams who are in that quarterfinals are capable of beating each other on that particular day. Whether Sri Lanka comes at 3, presuming Australia would be 1 and New Zealand would be 2, or the other way, whichever way they are playing with their form. So you presume Sri Lanka to be 3, and then you play the second and the first. So even Sri Lanka has got the capability of beating India and South Africa. So my focus would be tomorrow. I wouldn't think so far, and just try and win the game tomorrow. I think South Africa in these conditions are a better side than India, provided they play the right balance. What I saw against Zimbabwe, I think India will have a hope, because with Philander, Morkel and Steyn, and then you fall back to Tahir and Behruddin and Dumini, Indians wouldn't mind that. They will have an end to play at some stage. So as I feel it's going to be a big game tomorrow, and once again toss will be crucial.
These two are doing it nicely. Shaun says whoever loses will be good. Sourav says South Africa better off. So obviously there's something going on. South Africa favourites?
Yeah, I think they would go in favourites. The way they've played in the current series against the last one they had against the West Indies, and their current form are probably over the last 6 or so months. They had a good series when they beat Australia in Zimbabwe. They played some really good cricket there. So I think they would go in as favourites. I think India have struggled not making the Tri-Series final that happened here in Australia. But then, it doesn't count for much. But, for us media pundits, it's always nice to pick a favourite. And I think South Africa definitely go in this time.
How does one stop AB de Villiers?
Yeah, he's a class player. And, the modern game has changed so much too. I mean, you used to, at times, be able to get a batsman to target one side of the field. Now they score 360. If he's not hitting it leg side, he's reverse sweeping it onto the offside or flicking it over the wicket keeper. So he's a class player. But he needs to have a foundation laid for him, because if he doesn't have that foundation laid, the batting down the bottom of the order is not that strong, and then he can't play his natural game. But if he comes in 2 or 3 wickets down with maybe 15 overs, 20 overs to go, he's a very difficult customer to bowl to.
How does one stop AB de Villiers? Same question.
See, everyone can have a bad day. Just like Virat Kohli can have a bad day, AB de Villiers can have a bad day, and it's about getting him out, and getting both of them out, because if they bat 30 overs, they'll hurt you, whichever team they are playing for. So Pakistan made the mistake of allowing Virat Kohli to settle down and collect easily. South Africa will be different, and it's the same thing with AB de Villiers. India will have to try and get him out, because if he bats for a period of time, he'll take the game away from India. I agree with what Polly said, that in the middle order, 5-6 with Miller and Dumini, they're exceptionally talented, there's no doubt about it. But the strength of South Africa over the years has been what came after that. There was Shaun Pollock, there was Boucher, there were at some stage Klusener, and various other players who played and who could bat lower down the order. But that's not been the case. Even when Pat Simcox plays, he was a useful lower order batsman. So that's not the case in this side. So when I look at this team and when I look at the game against Zimbabwe, the squad they played with Behradeen at 7 and then the bowlers to come in, I still feel India will believe that they have a chance.
So what you are saying is from 7 on, if it's Behardeen or, even if they play Parnell, so Parnell, Steyn, Mockle, Philander, Tahir, there's a bit of a fragility there.
Yeah, Parnell at 7, I feel it's a bit too high for him. I don't know what Sean believes. Obviously, that's their headache. But I feel at 7, Parnell is a bit high, and I think 8 would be the right batting position for him, and they will have to pick the right squad to beat India. Because when I look at that side and I see those 3 fast bowlers, Philander, Mockle and Steyn, 3 fast bowlers, and then what follows after that? It's about Imran Tahir, which India will not lose sleep. He may have a good day, he's a good bowler, but he's not being tested against India, who are such quality players of spin bowling, and then the medium pace of Behradeen and JP Dumini's off spin. In South Africa were a great team. They had Pollock, Donald, Entini, Klusner, and even the 4th or 5th bowler was hard to get away, Kallis. And obviously you won't get a Kallis every day. He's a once-in-a-lifetime player, and that's tilted the balance for South Africa. And I think they'll have to find a different way to go against India on this pitch, which will have a bit of bounce. Otherwise, I think India will fancy the chances.
Sean, composition? What would you go with? He's saying no Imran Tahir against India.
Yeah, I think the general strategy for South Africa has been to have Behardeen at 7 and then go with the 4 bowlers and then just try and really back their top order to make sure they get a decent total on the board. When it comes to Australia and the wickets have got more bounce and more pace, what they were thinking of doing is maybe going to Parnell because you need a more specialist bowler in that middle period. So it will be interesting to see what they do. Behardeen was injured in the last game against Zimbabwe. He's had a week to recover. He wasn't anywhere near what he can normally do. I was a bit worried about his bowling even on that day. So it'll be interesting to see if he's fully recovered and whether they decide to back him. He did have a good series here when he played against Australia. He didn't get many runs, but he had one game where he got, I think it was 65 or so at Sydney when South Africa were in a little bit of trouble. So they'll always remember that in the back of their minds, and they want to keep that depth in their batting lineup. So he might just get the nod, but I wouldn't be surprised if Parnell comes in his place. They will play Tahir. He's done really well. Averages under 20 with the ball, and his economy rate's pretty good as well for a leg spinner. But I do agree with Saurav, India are a quality side, and he does bowl the odd bad delivery. And if India put that away and put him under pressure, then all of a sudden South Africa don't have that wicket-taking option. He's been unbelievable for South Africa in the middle order. He's managed to curb the run rate, and he's managed to pick up valuable wickets and break partnerships. So he's been a big player for them. If he's not a force tomorrow, then South Africa will have to rely on their death bowling, which hasn't been their strength.
Last 3 questions, Sean. I'll start with you first. You have Russell Domingo, Alan Donald, Gary Kirsten, Michael Hussey.
We've got them all.
Why? Why do you have them all?
Because if we're going to have a practice game, then we've got a good team to practice against. No?
Because I know what he'll say. Do you actually think you need someone?
Star has taken Hussey away.
No, but he's still with the team.
No, he's taken him away for tomorrow's game. They also feel there's too many in the South African squad, so he's taken him
away. Do you think they'll need so many?
I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I've always felt like in our days we had enough coaches, and now we've got even Charles Langeveld's there, so and Claude Henderson. So there's 3 bowling coaches, 2 batting coaches, 1 coach to tell them how to play in Australian conditions. I suppose at this stage of the tournament, it doesn't matter getting a lot of input, but as you go later on into the tournament, you want to be clear and calculated about what plan you want to put in place. And then I think too much advice can definitely have an adverse effect rather than a positive effect.
Too many cooks spoil the broth? Gary Kirsten, yes, one understands, but then why Hussey? Question is it a sign of insecurity?
No, I don't think so. South Africans have always been that well prepared. Maybe whether it's too much or too less, there'll always be a difference of opinion. But they've always had a big pool of team. In the 1999 World Cup, my first World Cup, Bob Woolmer came out with the Reappies. So they always try to do something different in terms of the strategy and planning. As I said, Hussey's will be with us at the commentary box tomorrow. So I think they've asked him to leave. A Star has taken him away. We don't know, but there's enough in that team, and I think Gary Kirsten will be of a big help because he's won a World Cup for India as a coach, and the experience of coaching India will actually help him and help the South African squad. But I completely agree with Sean. They have enough in the dressing room.
Sean, 1999, I remember your performance as well, 5 for 36, incredible. Do you think that was the best side, or would you rate this side at par and think they have a really good chance of going the distance?
Yeah, I'm always careful about rating teams as the best teams because, you know, from years to years the game plans change, how the game's played is different. And you also got to respect the guys that came before. You know, when they hear you say, no, that was the best team, they're sitting at home and they go, hey, what was wrong with the team I played in? But I think we had the best opportunity to win. We played some really good cricket in that 99 World Cup, and the fact that we got so close. Basically, we were one run away from a World Cup final, and then I would have fancied ourselves against Pakistan.
Does it haunt you still?
No, I think you learn a lot from those. Sport's about winning and losing, and it's not actually always about the performances, it's more about how you deal with the circumstances that you're faced with. So I think it taught us a lot about ourselves, made us very resilient, or myself. And you know, I put my best out there on the semi-final day, and it wasn't enough to help the team over the line. So you've got to learn to put those things behind you because there's plenty of disappointments in sport. In fact, you probably fail 90% of the time because every time I went to the crease I wanted to get 100. That didn't happen all that often. And every time I went to the crease I wanted to get 5 wickets. And that also didn't happen as often as you would like. So there's plenty of failures and it's all about learning to deal with it.
Sort of this choker's tag, I mean, you know, that we have labeled from the media on South Africa. Every team, even India, if you see India's performance in the final, every team fails when it comes to big pressure matches. They've had a history, but why South Africa? Is it sort of a media labeling that actually haunts the team?
See, obviously the quality of side they are, and they've been over the years, right from the day they came back to international cricket, they've always had the side which would win. And just look at the quality of players which South Africa has produced over the years. And anybody who knows a little bit about the game goes to the team sheet and says, Jesus, this is the team who can win the World Cup. But then that hasn't happened. You know, so that's probably one of the reasons why people keep saying this. But I've said before in our show that my gut feeling says that it's time for them for something big, and I won't be surprised if they go all the way this World Cup. And because you cannot be a good side for such a long period and not win the biggest tournament. Yes, there's a factor of luck, but how long can luck go against you? Because the quality of players they keep producing all the time. So I won't be surprised if it's South Africa's World Cup.
Sean, final question, prediction. You see South Africa going at least to the semi-finals, if not the distance?
Yeah, that's why I think tomorrow is an important game. Ideally, when you get into the knockout stage, you now all of a sudden have to get used to that pressure that it's do or die. Either you produce or you're on your way. And what would you want? You'd probably want to play against a lesser team in the first knockout game because that would just allow you maybe a few mistakes here and there and then still allows you to ease through into the semi-final. So this one tomorrow is a big one because it will determine who ends up number one in the log. And there's a good chance maybe you play a lesser team who finishes number 4 in the other opposition pool. So I think it's huge, but I do feel that South Africa have got the potential, and if they hit their straps at the right time, at the end of the day, this World Cup's about the last 3 games. You have to win 3 in a row under the pressure of knowing that if you win, you're through, and if you lose, you're out.
Last question to you. You've said this is a different India compared to the Tri-Series. You maintain that?
I think I would probably make a judgment after the game tomorrow because Pakistan has been very ordinary. West Indies have really got past them today, and India's real test will be tomorrow. And I would hold my judgment. But I've seen India play well in World Cups. They've come out of poor series, poor Test series, one-day series. But when the big tournaments come, they've found a way to do it. They've beaten Pakistan, which was not a surprise to me because they're a much better team on paper than Pakistan, and that's the reason we've beaten them almost every time for the last few years. As I said, I believe tomorrow will be the real test, and then you'll get to know what real India is.
We'll get to know what real India is, we'll get to know what real South Africa is. Both of these legends say it's a huge game to determine the number 1 position in the pool. They will be in the commentary box, but for the moment, I'm sure Headlines Today viewers have enjoyed this interaction because I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking to both these legends. Sean Pollock and Sourav Ganguly, thank you very much. Thank you.